Yerushalmi. We're so excited to be here with her. She's from LA, Los Angeles, California. All the way from there, she came here to Eretz HaKodesh. She's here for a while, giving some shulim around the country, visiting family and friends. And maybe she'll stay with us. You all should come and stay with us. And Miriam is the director, and she's the founder and director of Saving a Neshama Endowment, which really is an amazing organization to help women and men, or just women? Everyone, yeah, women and men around the world, providing for them the support that they need, therapy that they need. She has developed CBTT, which is CBT with Torah and Emunah. Maybe she'll talk about it a little bit through her, whatever she's giving over. And she trains women to be able to also be facilitators, just like Orit does. And really, she does a tremendous amount of chesed. She's the author of several books, both adult and children's books. If you want to mention them, I don't know them by heart. Tefillah books, you could go on her website, which is
yournewheights.org.
yournewheights.org. Write that down. Check out her books, and she is here to also bring us her perspective on healing through Geula. We are in times of Geula, ladies, and there's all types of healings out there, but the best healing is Emunah, as we've learned from Orit, as we learned from Miriam, if you've heard her speak, and I try to also focus on it myself, because that is what's going to get us out of where we're at. And where we want to go. Bezrat Hashem. Through Emunah, we can heal ourselves. And I think she'll be talking about a certain aspect of it. You'll hear her perspective. Each are going to bring a little bit of a different perspective of that type of healing. And it's right before Pesach. We're cleaning out our houses. We have to clean out our neshamas, We have to clean the inside of ourselves. And that's what we're doing here tonight. So thank you so much, Miriam, for joining us. And I'm turning over to Mike to you.
Wow. When I come to any place, I always pray, may the words coming from my heart enter everyone's hearts. I've had my life journeys, and what I'm going to share with you is what really helped me experience a more Geula approach to Judaism, a more Geula approach to living in my own skin, a Geula mindset and redemption of the heart. And the more I was studying the deep teachings of the Torah, the more I realized that whatever I studied before was like out the window, and I totally turned around my private practice and really focused on what I call Hasidic brain training, because the information hopefully that I'll share with you will really help you experience the Geula now, because really what is our mission on this earth is to really redeem our mind and our heart. Interesting, one day when I was actually so frustrated and almost going to give up in what I was learning in my studies in college, I was so frustrated with myself, because no matter what I was really learning, it was just not happening. But I happened to see a seeing eye dog cross the street, and at first I thought oh my gosh, I used to have dogs. I know how dogs, are. It's so fascinating that a dog can be trained to go against its instinct to take this blind man across the street. And then I saw a cat, and I was like, gosh, this is epic. I was too far. I need to save his life. But no, the dog was able to go against its instincts with what it's been trained, and was able to guide this dog, this blind man, across the street. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have hope that I'm a Jew and I have the Torah, and I'm sure the Torah is going to help me with all the things that are in the Torah to train me how to be in a more Geuladic state. And that's where the journey started. When I talk about Geula and the ability to have this type of healing of our mind and heart, let me tell you, my mind needed it more than most average people. I had a lot of challenges of overactive mind, overactive, emotionalism. And so when it started actually being able to help myself, I was able to like see to it that other people will get it as well. So we learn that tefillah is where the Geula is at. The Alter Rebbe in Tanya actually teaches is we don't have to wait till Geula to have that final redemption of our mind, body, and soul. That tefillah is like an open vault almost of such kedusha and such geuladik Mashiach-dik light that it actually can be healing our mind, our heart, our midos, and the Alter Rebbe actually explains that when we talk about our mind and heart being redeemed, there's this experience of darkness that we're all, in this world, and we all have these different elements of our being. And when we think about how many times people try and they daven and they learn and they try everything and they still seem not to be changing their negative attributes, whether it's their sadness, whether it's their anger, whether it's their taivas. So I liken the prescription of Hashem's Torah to an open heart surgery. There's a person that needs to do a preparation for surgery, and then the surgery is done. So tefillah is like the preparation of a surgery. Tefillah is actually preparing our heart. What does that mean to prepare our heart? Like as if we're going to fix our heart like an open surgery? Yes, our heart has anger and sadness and all these negative, midos. And the light that we tap into when we daven actually clears our heart. And it's the preparation of a surgery, just like they'll do an x-ray and then they'll put all the procedures together. Then the doctor comes in and the surgery takes place. Well, tefillah is the preparation. When we go to sleep and when we wake up in the morning, our soul comes back into our body anew. And that means, as the Gemara states, it's waiting at like a station in our nose, actually, to be able to come back into our mind and our heart. But if we don't daven and pray, then our heart and mind isn't ready for our soul to come back in. So the davening, the words of our tefillah act like a fire to kasher our heart and our mind, to make ready our heart and our mind for our neshama to come in. Just like when Rosh Hashanah and the light of Hashem's koach comes into the world, every day when we daven, there's a koach of moichin de gadlus. There's this great geuladik light, healing light that descends into our mind and heart through every word and every fiery passion while davening, to be able to allow our heart and mind to be cleared of the tumah that it accumulated while going to sleep. Because we know our soul leaves and our body then has a bit of tumah. That's why we do negelvasser when we wake up. But we also have a bit of tumah in our heart and our mind. So by prayer and understanding the process of making our heart and our mind ready and purified and cleansed, and as the pasuk says, like that we are trying to really have a brit, not of just of our heart, right? There's a teaching that we're having this amazing process of circumcising our heart. Well, what does that mean? Well, like a Brit, you're getting rid of the layers on the skin. We're getting rid of the layers of our midos that's on our heart. And prayer is a fire that melts away these barriers, these, midos that get in our way. So, as I said, when we are doing a surgery, the preparation is the davening. What is a surgery? Now we did the prayers, we did the avodah really trying our best to have concentration, to try to really think of what we're saying, to try to connect to the words, to try to have the devekas, to try to imagine this fiery koach of Hashem, like clearing our heart. Now we cleared our heart. And the most important ingredient after is to now bring the light of Hashem's Torah in our heart. So that's why whenever people come to me and they have problems, I say, what's your regimen? Do you daven every day? Do you learn Torah right after prayer? Sometimes people barely daven, or some people love learning, but they didn't really prepare their heart, and they can't get enough of learning, and they'll listen to every podcast, but they're not really doing the recipe according to Hashem's Torah to make sure that the Torah has a place in one's heart. Because if you didn't do the avoida of getting rid of the klipas of your heart through davening, and you didn't clear and make ready your heart and mind for the power of Hashem's kedusha, then what happens is it just is peripherally experienced, yes, by your godly soul. Yes, you're learning and you might be on fire while you're learning, but it had no impact on changing your heart. And this comes from Lukatei Torah, which teaches us how critical it is to learn Torah and speak the words of Torah right after davening. And if you look, we're about to go through Kriyat Yam Suf and going into our Holy of Holy Lands in the whole Pesach experience. And the Rebbe actually said that the miracle of the two waters splitting, like, it's a double miracle. Because Hashem could have just put all the water on one side and like the Jews go. Hashem doesn't overexert himself and doesn't do miracles more than they have to if he doesn't have to. So the Rebbe actually taught us that the experience to get to our Geula today, until the ultimate Geula, we have to realize those two walls represents the two things we have to do to protect ourselves, just like the two walls protect us from the midstream chasing us. So the experience of davening represents the one wall, and the experience of learning Torah right after, those two spiritual practices create that wall so we are protected so that we can walk toward our destination and reach the Geula now as best we can and work on getting rid of the darkness, because we all know, it's very famous, there's no reality to darkness. Darkness means it's an absence of light. Well, turn on the light. So what does turn on the light mean? The light of your soul. I always tell people you don't have to go to the moon and back to try to create yourself or the person you want to be. You're fully all there. Hashem gave you all of your koichas in your neshama that's in your heart and mind. That's like the main two stations. So the davening helps you peel away the outer chitzonius midos that are burying your soul, so that you can circumcise your heart and reach the destination of your neshama that wants to be revealed. In Parshas Bo, the Rebbe actually also teaches us that the whole journey of Yetzias Mitzrayim is a template for our own redemption. We know that. So the Rebbe actually says, first you have to kill your firstborn son. Remember in the command that Hashem, did the 10th plague, right? And then the command was to redeem the firstborn son. So the Rebbe actually says the killing of the firstborn son is killing of your first intellect. If you don't turn on the light of your godly intellect, then your mind can actually get very snatched by the Yetzer Hara. Your faculty of imagination can be snatched and take you into all kinds of places of sadness and depressions and all kinds of anxieties and panics, because your mind has been hacked, hijacked, and it's been steered toward the Mitzri mentality, not the Geula mentality. The redemption of your mind, that's the redemption of the firstborn son, happens organically when you do this twofold spiritual practice of making sure you daven. Now, a lot of people say to me, but my husband davens 3 times a day and he studies in Kollel. So look, and he comes home, he's like almost a Dr. Heckle, Mr. Hyde. He's not this, like, it's not affecting him. I said, okay, davening is not blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying they're doing that, but davening means meditative davening. And the Rebbe says that because you got to go from your mind, just like the redemption of the firstborn son, and then soon after was running away, right, and escaping. We have to escape our mind because our mind is limited. Our mind can take us places. Our rational, mitzri-like, not Geula mentality, will get us very stuck if we stay there. We have to take the knowledge of the Torah, run away from our head, and go to our heart. And that's meditative prayer. And that's meditative learning. That's like be'iyun, with contemplation, with thinking, and there's a lot of meditations that come from the deep teachings of the Torah, that why we're saying each specific part of the davening to really transform, not by coercion, because that doesn't work. We all know it. I'm not going to do that. That doesn't work. We got to redeem our neshama that's in our heart. And by doing these spiritual practices in this way, organically, by persuasion almost, the redemption happens as we just turn on the light. So, wow, there is so much to say about our ability to really leave whatever past issues of traumas, whatever even modern psychology is telling us that, you have a broken brain or you have something wrong with your hormones and all these things that can really trick us into believing that's it. It's like, I guess that's my lot. I have OCD or I have anxiety, and what can I do about it? It's my hormones. I have to go. No, I'm telling you, from 33 years of experience as a counselor, helping people turn on their light. In Kuntrasu Umayan, the Rebbe Rashab actually explains that all mental and emotional disorders comes from too high of a soul. These people that have anxiety or depression, they have such an enormous power of such light and such holiness. What causes the breakage? A lack of a keli. They didn't know how to make a keli to contain this light. So it shatters them. What does that mean? Imagine you go to Niagara Falls and you see a champagne glass and you put it in front of Niagara Falls and you leave it. Not only will the powerful light of that force of that water not be able to be contained in that measly cup, flimsy cup, it shatters it. So people who have a lot of faculty of imagination, they have a lot of spiritual genius, amazing powers of their soul, when they don't know how to contain the kedusha, because they didn't prepare their heart and mind in this most incredible dietary prescription of aneshama, then it shatters them. So we don't have to believe the traditional ways of modern lingo of believing that these people who are suffering these things, whether mildly or a lot, that we, with the power of Hashem's Torah and with the prescription that Hashem gives us, helps us be able to understand how to channel and bring this light out. I want to tell you, there's the fire, the water, the air, and the earth, that we all have these character traits in us. And when we don't know how to create this vessel, then the Yetzer Hara, let me explain, takes our fire. Our fire can be, just like fire can destroy, but fire can also be good, right? So the fire of someone who's born with a lot of gevura, they tend to have anxiety and panics and anger and all these negative things from this gevura, because they didn't create a vessel by davening and learning properly to then channel it. Yetzer Hara then takes the fire and they become angry. So if they channel it toward Yirat Hashem, Gevura is Yira. Yitzchak had a lot of Gevura. He had more than Abraham. And he excelled in Yirat Hashem. So these people need to develop more Yirat Hashem through the davening and through the learning. If they are missing one, just like when you bake a cake, you say, no, I'm not going to put the ingredients all together. I'll put half the ingredients first in the oven, let it bake for an hour, and then I'll put the milk and the honey and the eggs. It won't be a cake. Our davening and our learning has to be very precise to create this vessel. So someone who was born with a lot of water, like Abraham represents Avat Hashem. He was different. He was blessed with so much water. He loved chesed. A person who doesn't channel it and develop Avat Hashem in davening and Avat Hashem by his learning and his chesed, what is it going to be? Addictions, taivas, overeating, drugs, I don't know, kavod, money. A person who has a lot of earth element, this comes from Rambam. And Tanya develops it and tells us how to make use of this information. So the earth element is amazing. You can grow, right, earth and vegetation from the earth, but earth can also be like an avalanche and overbury you and keep you from growing. And the earth element is, when it's not channeled in earthy groundedness, meditation, thinking through what you're doing in davening and blah, 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 blah. If it's not developed, then it becomes depression. So people who have a lot of depression, they're so holy. Hashem gifted them with a lot of earth. And the air element, sorry to say, you're not using your air element while davening, and you're not using your air element while learning Torah, then Yetzer Hara says, no, nobody's using the air element either, so I'm going to use it, and I'm going to give them diarrhea of the mouth. They're the type of people who argue and fight and can't stop talking. So when we understand that our weaknesses are really our greatest strengths, that we can't see it as an ailment, we have to see it as a sign how holy we are. And that's why when women come to me and say, my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so holy. He's like beyond holy. If he can get that angry and he can be that mean, oh my goodness. Once he channels that fire, he's a fire. And then they see their husband. That's in my marriage book. But like, so I try so much to help people see people's weaknesses are just really their greatest strength, but untapped, unchanneled. So, as Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto says, only the teachings that are based on the Torah have the power to cure human problems. As the Alter Rebbe says in Lukatei Torah, he says, if you don't heal through Torah, it's a half-baked solution. It's not really going to give you the full Geula-A redemption. It has to be dealt with from your soul. And I pray that this is just the beginning, because all of us are davening and learning. All of us can, as I say, as the Rebbe said, good is good and better is better. Because once you start tapping into this precision of and this understanding that the Mashiach light of being able to like really redeem yourself is in the Siddur, then it's a whole new level and a whole new meaning of how to use Hashem's tools that he gave us for Geula now. And we don't have to wait.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank Miriam.
Thank you.
I'm still absorbing.
Just a question about the technical stuff. Can I give somebody the Zoom link right now?
Yeah.
Can you send it to me or something so I can pass it around?
No, that was
The one you have on your flyer.
I have the registration link.
Registration through email.
Yes, I'll send you the registration link. Let them register. They'll get the link. But just make sure you write down the
If
name.
you don't have to,
Yes,
whether you have
For
to-
sure, for sure.
The practical application for all of us, what would you say would be the way to get started for everyday life? What's the small thing you can do?
So the smallest step is realizing that as halakha as your davening is, there are specific hisbonanuts that are prescribed by the deep teachings of the Torah to go to the next level of devekus with Hashem. So, for instance, if you are only doing 5 minutes of davening, maybe do 10 or 15. And if you weren't really saying the words and barely move your lips a little more, say the words. If you can add like a little more awareness, like for instance, people don't realize that the time of davening is called moichin de gadlus. It actually really increases your brain power because your chokhmah, bin, and das is attached to Hashem's chokhmah, bin, and das. So just an awareness. Wow. Just like I go to the gas station and I can fill up my car now, I can fill up my mind now. Like this is a time that I'm like, really gonna be able to fill my mind up. So this awareness helps you become more of an open vessel to then draw down that wisdom for yourself. Even Dr. Sarah Lazar from Harvard University studied the brains of people who prayed and meditated. And she saw under the pictures of 30 years of taking the pictures that their cortex lining of their brain was thickening. They had more neurotransmitters and more incredible, it's called neuroplasticity. The brain was able to have more muscle mass and less empty spaces. And she interviewed them. No depression compared to the control group. And even Alzheimer's and dementias and all kinds of Parkinson's. And the aging of the mind was like almost zil compared to the group that didn't pray and meditate. So this is a time of really sharpening our mind, just like the brain of a dog was able to be trained. Hashem gave us these incredible spiritual practices to protect our mind. What I coined up a mushy mind, because just like if you don't exercise, you can't even walk a block sometimes after, let's say you were sick and in bed, not you, someone else, and all week long you couldn't. So our mind can become atrophy and it becomes weak. Davening, focusing, meditating strengthens our mind. So that's a minimal start. And then no matter how busy you are, as I say, just even 5 minutes of learning right after. Just even 5 minutes.
You have to say it out loud.
And saying it out loud, because the power of the hamshacha of God's chokhmah, bin, and das comes from the power of speech. So that's why people listen to podcasts, and they're not doing the specific rituals in this precise way. So they're missing some of the links of what can bring that Geula-A. I hope that was helpful.
Amazing. And also the dibur aspect, the fact that we have the ability to speak is what makes us on a higher level than any other bria.
Yes.
So when we're utilizing that tool of being able to speak, we are elevating ourselves to a higher level. That's why when you daven, you have to hear yourself daven. You can't say it in such a way that you can't be learned that from Chanas, right? Even Shemona Esrei, you have to hear yourself saying it. And when we're using the word to express our tefillah, to express it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're already elevating ourselves to a higher level. And that also shows how much we have a kesher and a relationship with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It says by the Nachash, the snake, he was only able to look downwards to his food, right? By Adam Arishon, he was able to always turn up to Hashem. He's a dependent. He's a talui. And that's the ability that Hashem gave us. It says, Vayipach ba'apav nishmat chayim. And the Rashi says, he brings uncle, ruach memalela, a speaking being. The fact that we have this ability to speak elevates us, helps us to have this kesher and relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is what tefillah really is. And that's what Miriam is saying. The meditation, it's not just saying the words, it's not lip service. I give a tefillah class, some of the people here in my class, and that's what we talk about. Every single bracha on the Shemona Esrei is just building us more and more to have a kesher with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But really, we need to think about the words. We need to meditate on the words. You know, the Hasidim used to spend time before davening, preparing, davening, and then after davening also. It's like a whole day. Imagine 3 times a day. They were always either before, after, during, like preparing. They're all in tefillah. What is tefillah? It's a relationship. It's always talking to Kadosh Baruch Hu. You know, so we can open up the siddur. Like I found myself one day, I'm in the beginning of Shemona Esrei, and like all of a sudden I'm like, how come I'm saying Elokai Netzar already? Like, how did I get here? Did I just skip some tefillah, some brachas? Because our mind is like somewhere else. That means we didn't prepare ourselves to get into the tefillah. And I think what Miriam is saying, is that that's what tefillah is, to really delve into that consciousness that we have a kesher with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is here. We start off, it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. Hashem is constantly present in front of us. And when we have this and we focus on it and we close our eyes, we meditate on it, even just for a few minutes, we don't have time, our tefillah will be completely different, because we are talking to someone who's listening to us. And part of the issue is that we don't believe in our tefillah. So that's a different story, right? And if we would focus on that, Hashem's listening to me right now, what do I want to tell him? And how do I want to say it? Then we would daven completely different. It would just, our whole kesher would be different. Sorry, Arit, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I want to talk to the people amongst us, like myself. So very regularly find myself at the end of the tefillah and saying, how did I get here?
Right.
I went shopping in my mind. I went, prepared all my day. I did all my Pesach cleaning.
Exactly.
And
I have to
Hashem,
go back
it's
to
nice.
bus.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to see. And I learned I want to console our hearts for those of us who that happens to. And if it doesn't, I'm talking to myself. I heard something really, really beautiful. No. I heard something really, really beautiful. It says that in the beginning of our tefillah, we say, Hashem sipatai tiftach ufi agiti latecha, right? So what are we actually saying to Hashem in the beginning of our tefillah? We're saying, Hashem, open up my mouth and put inside my mouth the words, right? So that I could speak to you. So the question's asked, wait a minute. If I were speaking these words and I made it to the end of tefillah, who is actually speaking those words? Mm-hmm. Who was saying those words when my conscious mind was going food shopping? And I'm in Cheder Yichud and I'm facing Hashem. Who really was speaking? And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh who says, who was speaking? Hashem was speaking. Hashem, you lost yourself in tefillah. It was actually, and this is the whole Torah that the Baal Shem Tov teaches us about, what do you do with foreign thoughts when foreign thoughts enter your mind in the middle of tefillah and you feel so guilty? Why am I thinking these crazy thoughts in the middle of tefillah? I'm not negating at all the idea of, I learned so much from what Miriam just said. The preparation, right? The hachana is as big as the actual mitzvah itself. When you prepare, we know this from Pesach. We're preparing. And this Seder happens 3 hours. It's like all the crumbs all over the floor. Okay, they're matzah crumbs, but still.
And you clean the whole month.
Right. And you think to yourself, oh, those crumbs are kosher now. They're fine. Let's leave them there. We don't have to worry about sweeping them off. But the whole idea is that the preparation has value. But on the other hand, I just want to say a word of consolation that if we get to the point where it happened, Hashem is also teaching us something through that. And Hashem is saying, guess what? I can take hold of your mind and I could be the ani tefillah. I could be the tefillah for you. When you can't control your mind, no, I can control your mind. And I will speak through you and I will show you that I could be the one speaking when you don't even know what you're saying.
Beautiful.
So it's just the mode of consolation, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, we could try to prepare and then at the end of the day, we really want to. We have a yearning, we have a desire. But I just don't want any of us feeling like myself, I'm talking to myself here, that for 1 minute, if it happened already, that there's something wrong, that I didn't fulfill. No, and I know that's not what you said at all. I just, I'm saying this for myself.
To that
You know?
self-criticism.
Yeah.
Do it again. I
Yes,
do it again.
exactly.
And the adultery says it.